Hello and welcome to the Infrastructure Design Seminar, Wednesday the 28th of April 2015. My name is Ian Robinson and I'm the Infrastructure Consultant for Greytec. We're going to have a look at some of the additional features, some extra features on the back of our last seminar, which we ran as an introduction to Infrastructure Design Suite. So today we're just going to tell you a little bit about Greytec, for those of you that don't know who we are, and a little bit about the Infrastructure Design Suite because there's been some changes. There is a new product which is the next one, Infoworks LT. Some advanced, I've put advanced-ish because there's more advanced stuff to come, Infoworks, and in particular talking about creating your own content. As I say, my name's Ian Robinson. I'm the Infrastructure Technical Specialist for Greytec. I'm based in the UK. I've put my contact details down there, so if anybody wants to contact me, probably the best way is via email because I'm usually out and about talking to customers, doing training and things like that. So Greytec is an international Autodesk authorised reseller. We've got over 30 years experience in the business, and we're one of the biggest worldwide Autodesk partners with over 330 employees, 180 of whom are technical engineers and also involved in R&D and generally helping customers. In the UK alone we have over 70 staff across 5 locations, and worldwide we've got locations in Europe, America and Asia. So the Infrastructure Design Suite, this is where I'm coming from. I know some of you are coming from this from the Building Design Suite and wanting to have a look at the Infoworks product, and that's okay. Everything I'm doing here is transferable to your discipline. Now in IDS, or the Infrastructure Design Suite, you get these products. You get AutoCAD and AutoCAD Map and Recap and Raster Design, Civil 3D and Navisworks and all the modules that come with Civil 3D. And there's things like, obviously there's Revit, Utility Design, 3ds Max, Robot, and with the Ultimate you also get Navisworks Manage. The one thing you'll notice is that there was no Infoworks in there, whereas in 2015 you also got Infoworks. Well, there's no need to panic because Infoworks is now not in the suite. It's a downloadable subscription, that was the word I was looking for, downloadable subscription benefit. And it's now called Infoworks 360 LT. And it's very much the same as what you had before, but it is better, basically. So as long as you've got Infrastructure Design Suite Premium or Infrastructure Design Suite Ultimate or the Building Design Suite Ultimate, you can go to your subscription center and you will see Infoworks 360 LT, and you can download that and use it free of charge. I think the most interesting difference between the LT and the 2015 version is the network storage. So everybody who's got a design suite, we can store the model on the network, which allows everybody to access that and use that same model. So whereas before it was only local, now it can be done on the network so everybody can see it, which is brilliant. It gets even better than that as well. There's now no serial numbers or product keys or anything like that. The bit that I wanted to also show you actually before we go any further is the data exchange tools have been added into the LT. You can migrate your roads and import Civil 3D models, and you can do basically the collaboration between Infoworks and Civil 3D that I showed you in the last webinar. So yeah, here's the bit about the no serial numbers. So it's a single product now. There's no serial numbers and no product keys. You just download that. And in fact, if you download the trial version, you get all the features for 30 days. And then after the 30-day trial, you'll revert to the version that you want. So if you've bought the road design tool, you'll keep that. If you haven't bought anything, you'll get the LT version. And in fact, if you're not even due the LT version, after the 30-day trial, it goes into what's called presenter mode, and that's what you can see there in front of you. That allows you to view the model and spin around and do everything in terms of viewing. You just can't create, edit, upload any of the geometry in there. But you can do things like measure and terrain statistics and do the sun and sky analysis and things like that. which I think is absolutely brilliant for collaboration. Okay, so with this in mind, there's a slight change to the agenda. We're going to look at some of the new features as well in Infoworks, so there'll be a little bit extra on there. But we're still going to look today at how you can edit and create your own road standards and import models into the style palette and things like that. So there'll be some extra stuff that we'll be covering. Some people have asked me to post some stuff from last time as well. So after I finish doing the demo, there will be an opportunity to see these links again, and just grab a screenshot of them, and you'll be able to understand what you'll be able to go to all these links that I've created. And the one that I've just put up there, for example, is the model that I'll be working on that you'll be able to view in Internet Explorer or Firefox or anything like that. It's a way of collaborating with Infoworks, which is great. Right, so let's cancel that and go straight in. Let me just check some of my settings, which I have. Okay, so the first thing is in Infoworks. Let's go straight to Infoworks. There we go. Is that new is the model builder. I know it was there before, but that was what was called a preview. Now it's actually been built into the product properly, so it's not a preview. You can have it. It's free, and as long as you've got not the LT version, the Infraworks 360, as long as you've got that, then you can go and get some free data, which is great. And again, have a look at the webinars that I produced before, which shows a lot of access for free data. They have improved it a little bit though. So if I was to go to Exeter, for example, and I wanted to do some work down the N5 here, previously I had to take a big square. Now we've got polygon, or you can actually upload an Esri shapefile and select that. So if I was to select a polygon, I can basically go in and now start picking out just the road section there, 14 square kilometres, which is a lot better than before. So you give it a name and create a model. I've already done that for you just to show you. I'm not going to work on this model, I just wanted to show you how that works. There we are. So you now don't have to have this big square, because obviously there's a limit, isn't there, 250 square kilometres. Now we can get long linear roads that fall within that 250 square kilometres. Previously you would have probably cut it into lots of different models. So that's quite nice. Right, let me just get my notes up. Okay, so let's go back to the model that I'm going to be working on, which is this one here. What I want to do is I want to start adding some data. So this is data that we got using the model builder. So the buildings and roads are from OpenStreetMap. The terrain is about 90-meter grid, so it's not perfect. We've got the OS stuff that we can use. But let's take them into different segments and we'll look at the buildings. So the one thing a lot of companies are now doing with buildings is giving you building heights. And the Ordnance Survey do that. So we can utilize the building height data in here. And I wanted to show you today using this webinar how you would achieve that. So I'm going to use the Ordnance Survey because I'm based in the UK, but of course you can use any of your local data. The principles are the same. Now what happens is with the Ordnance Survey, let's go to buildings, they give you a topographic layer which is in a GZ format. There we are, and that's all the geometry and data to do with the topography of the land. And then for building heights, they give you it in a CSV format. That's their original one. And what I tend to do is import it into something like an Access database, mainly because AutoCAD Map or Civil 3D is better at handling Access databases. Access databases are better at handling data, to be honest, so it's a much easier. So let's have a look at that. So that's the Access database. I'll just open up AutoCAD map, and we'll just drop in the topology layer. So all I did was I imported the GZ, and then I exported it as an SDF file, just to do a conversion, if you like. And if you want to know how to do the import and export using AutoCAD Civil 3D or Map 3D, then just let me know. Just drag and drop that in. Let's have a look at the data. Okay, so in the table we can pick a building. So that looks like a building to me. No, it's a multi-service. We'll zoom in a bit. That's the building. There it is. There's the building. There's all the data that comes with that. But there's no building heights. What it does have is a TOID, which is a topographical ID, is what that stands for. So our building also has a TOID. They've slightly formulated it a bit odd here. The OS put OSGB in. So what you need to do is you need to do a little bit of conversion to remove the OSGB and just stick 3 noughts in front, which I've done already. I didn't want to bore you with that technicality. Again, if it's something that you need to know, just get in touch with me and I can show you how to do that. Excel's probably the easiest way of doing that, just to remove them. But you can do it in lots of different ones. So I've now got my OS topo TOID in my data, and it matches my TOID in my SDF with the geometry in. So all I need to do then is I need to link the two together. So map has, and civil, I'm going to say map because I've got it open, but map is built into civil, so make sure you're aware of that. Has the ability to use ODBC connections or open database connectivity. And all you need to do is create one of them. But don't worry, if you don't have to be a Microsoft genius to be able to do that. All you need to do is hit the Windows key, type ODBC, and you'll see it appear in the list there on the left-hand side. Can you see? ODBC. I'll pick that one. And you need to create one. I've already created one here. I'll show you how to do it. Just click Add. It asks for the data source, so you're looking for, you can do text and CSVs and XLSs, but ODBC, as I said, isn't as stable in them, so that's why I use a Microsoft Access driver. Click Finish, give it a name, OS Master Map, Building Heights, or whatever. I'll get rid of that gap in there, put an underscore. Okay. You then need to go and select your database, so you need to go and find it. So mine's on my E drive, it's under data. No, it's not, it's on my data drive. I recently moved it. From my data drive, Ordnance Survey, Exeter Samples, Building Heights, and there it is. There's my MDB file. Click OK. It's not a system database, so you don't need to worry about that. In the options, you can make sure that it's not read-only. Under the advanced, that's where you would set passwords and logins and stuff. We don't need to do it. We'll leave that blank. Okay, so you click OK. So OS Building Heights, there we are. Click OK. So in my ODBC connection, I just click Source. It will find the one. There's the one I've just created, Building Heights. Click OK. Test the connection. It'll ask for that username and password. And if you remember, we left it blank. Log in, connect, and then just shut it down. There's no data to add to the map, so it's not going to allow you to add to the map. So that's that. So now all we need to do is link the two. So we can right-click the master map in the task pane, create a join, pick the OS master map, that's already in there. Pick the one that you want to join it to, so that's the FDO Exeter sample. Can you see there, the ODBC connection? Tell it which of the two tables that you're going to link, so the TOID to that OS TOID Map 3D, the one that I created. We'll keep all the records, we'll do a one-to-one relationship. Just click OK. It's going to go away, it's going to populate that. The only thing you'll notice is that bar's got smaller, so if we zoom across, there we are. There's all our Exeter data. And just check for questions. There are no questions. So the next thing I want to do is I just want to query it so all I've got is the buildings. So again, keeping an eye on the data. It's handy having the data always open so you can keep an eye on that, just so you understand what you're doing really. So descriptive group building, I just want to keep them. So I'll just right click it again. I can query to filter the data, and you can create a query now, and we can say, okay, which property are we going to query? Well, descriptive group, that's the one that says building, equals, I could just type in the word building as it's typed there, it's case sensitive, or I can just go in here, click on there and double click building. Click OK. It'll go away and it'll get rid of everything else. Just give me back the buildings. Remembering them buildings have got the height data. So now, quickest way is to right click it and export the layer to an SDF file. You can do it to an SQLite file now, and interestingly SQLite is what Infoworks works on, so that's a really good way of doing it. If you want to do it to sources that are not Autodesk-y, then SDF isn't useful, whereas SQLite is more useful. But you can use the map export tool, map export, and you can export to all these different ones. So that's for your Esri, your GMLs, microstations as well, version 7 and version 8 as well. So there are lots of different ways of exporting that file. Okay, so in my model, let's add these buildings and put the heights to them. So I'll go in and first of all delete the OpenStreetMap ones. So data sources, buildings, delete, yeah, get rid of them. The other thing I notice that I've got all this animation going on. If I just turn my visual effects away from high quality and turn the animation off, it'll make my model really quick. And then when I come to do the plotting and stuff, the screenshots and all that, the storyboarding and things like that, I can turn back on the high quality visuals. Right, so let's get our buildings and add them in. Building samples, so there's my SDF file with heights. Drag and drop it in. We need to tell it that they're buildings. We need to tell it that they're on the OS, National Grid. We need to drape it on the surface, and we'll click to the model extents because it's a much bigger area as that building, so we just want to bring in the buildings that are within this model in here. And then the next thing I want to do is I could describe them using that building height data, just so that when I click it, the description tells me how high the building is, so I can just check it. I probably wouldn't do this in the real world. It's worth noting, and the OS will tell you, or whoever is your provider, what all this codes mean. So relative H2 is the relative to the ground, the height of the eaves. Relative max is relative to the ground, the height of the total building. So if it's got a tall chimney, it will be that height. Whereas the other one, which is, there we are, absolute H2 and absolute height max, is the height from 0. So it's the absolute level. And I'm going to use relative to. Rule style, I'll come back to that in a minute. We'll do that in a bit. But the roof height we can set using that relative H2 as well. So I've got a check now. So relative H2, there we are. If I use the maximum, I can say roof height above sea level. I could tick that, so I can use that. So if your data doesn't have the relative from the ground to the roof height, and it just has what the elevation is of the roof, you can actually click above sea level, and it will effectively clip the bottom. And roof slope, I'm not going to do that because what I don't want is a roof slope on these really big buildings. I just want roof slope on all the small buildings. So again, we'll have a look at that as well in a minute. Let's just close and refresh that. So as our buildings have come in and they've all got heights relative to their size. So if I look at the properties, we can see that the description is 11.1 and the roof height is 11.1. Click on that one, 9. So we've got correct roof heights according to the surveyor. Next thing is the building fascias. So we can put in random building fascias. So at the moment it's just picking random colours. So if we go to our style rules, you can add in your own style rules. So there's a load already added in for coverage areas, for example, but we can create one for buildings. So I'm going to create one, give it a name. I'll just call this random fascia, and then I can edit it. Whenever you see that pencil, that's your edit button. So we can use expressions, etc. We can say, look, if the building has got this data, then I want it to look like this, and if it's got X data, I want it to look like that. But you can also just put styles on, like so, and then tell it how likely you want that style to appear. So let me just get my notes and pick the styles that I liked. So Achilles, that one there, and this one there, we can change that, and I can say actually we'll put a likelihood factor of 3 on Achilles, and we'll add another one, and this time we will use let me just check brick. Which one should I use? Yeah, that one. And we'll make that one much more likely. 7. We've got more brick houses, haven't we? Click Add. You can create your own fascias as well. You can create your own materials and things like that as well. What should we pick next? I don't know. Lorenzo. That'll do. And we'll leave that one at 1. And click OK. So we've now got a building style with the likelihood. If we run them rules, it should put these random fascias on, which is rather nice. As we zoom in, you can see that we've got kind of better representation of our buildings. The next thing I want to do is I want to put some roof slopes, but I only really want to put them on the small ones. So if we go to our select tools and use our filter select, we can go in and we can say, you can just type away description equals and what have you, but what I want that to do is I want to have the calculated area value of these buildings. And this is what I really like about Infoworks. If I go back to the data source, if I look at the properties of a building, so properties, there we are. There's no information in there telling me what the calculated area value is. But what I could do is change the description to be the calculated area value. So if I go to data sources, buildings, and double click it, I'll change this description here to calculated area value and close and refresh. Go in here, select one, have a look at its properties, roof height, calculated area value is there. I can now do my filter select and say calculated value. It's a bit odd actually because it has to be the other way around. I don't know why that is. It's less than 300 and it picks all the little buildings and leaves all the big buildings, And then in the property I can put a roof slope of 35 and update. The ones that's picked that are a bit odd, this building here is a bit odd. I'll just set that back to 0 because it's actually below the ground, and we'll deal with that later. What I'll do is I'll edit that. Just bring it above the ground and have a look at what it is. I think it's not even a building. I think it's some sort of coverage area. Don't even know what that is. You can see in the imagery below there shouldn't be a building there, so I'll just delete it. I'm wondering if they've built something there since. There's all sorts of weird stuff going on in there. I know exactly what's happened there. It's brought in the whole of the master map, so it's brought all the geometry in that isn't buildings as well. Right, so so that's my buildings. So I'll just go back in and we'll rerun that rule for building height. Relative H2. Style rules, run the rule. And we'll get buildings with random fascias and also with the roof slopes for just the small buildings. Okay, so the next thing is we're going to look at roads. So let's delete our roads and we'll use the Ordnance Survey road. So again, you'll probably have your own roads in there. Okay, what's happened there? As I say, we've brought in the whole of the master map instead of just the buildings. Okay, I'll delete the rail as well. I'll delete it from there, it'll be a lot quicker, deleting individual items. Okay, so with the roads, what we need to do is we need to set our country standards. Because this is only preliminary design, we're only really interested in the width. So what I want to do is create our own standards in there. So the way to do that, we need to go to our style palettes. So we'll just go to our style palette and have a look at roads. You can see in there I've created our own. So I'll show you how I did that. It's very straightforward. First of all, you can create a new catalogue. I'll just call this one webinar. Webinar. There we are. Okay, so we can see now we've got this webinar in there. And then what you want to do is you want to pick something close to what you've you want. You could start from scratch, that's not a problem, it's easy enough. But I find it a bit easier. Look, let's just pick something close to what we want, and then you can copy the current style either locally, so I'll just copy it into this folder, or we can copy it into the one we've just created, webinar. Okay. And we can give this a name. I don't know, DMRB, a road, whatever. So once you've got it selected, just edit it, and you get this window up here. And this is quite handy because you can zoom right in here. Even when you're doing the editing, you can zoom right in and have a look at what the road is built up on. And we'll just start at the top and work our way down. So material groups, you can create your own material groups. There's a bucket load in there. If we go to the roads folder, there's street material 2. That's the one I'm going to use. I quite like that one. It's got an awful lot of stuff that we need, like curbs, which are a bit better than the one we want. But as I say, you can create your own. Road junction material, there's one already in there. Outer materials for edges and stuff like that. You don't need to worry too much about these. What we're interested in here is our standards. So we have some standards. So if I go to my training folder and my Civil 3D standards folder, is it that one? Yeah, it's that one. Here we go. So let's have a look. Highway cross sections. There we go. Just zoom down. Bridges. Lots of structures above there. There you go. Come on. There they are. So there's our standard sizes for roads. There's various ones in there. This is what all engineers, and those of you that are engineers will be going, yeah, whatever, Ian, we know. But that gives us our kind of widths of what we need. So we just need to work to these sort of standards so that these roads fully represent our roads. So the carriageway, for example, we just tell it how wide we want it, 3.65. You can see it instantly updating here. You can put the top surface and inner surfaces on it. Curbs, our curbs are an HP1's 0.15. Do we want the bikeway? No, we just go straight to a footpath and we'll put a 1.8 metre footpath on there. And there's our road. What if you want to put some furniture on your road? Well, you can do that as well. So what we can do is we can put some lampposts on there, and I'll show you how to do that. It's very simple. You hit this button here, which is Model Objects, and then just tell it which of these elements, the curb, the pavement, or the road, do you want to put them on. I usually put them on the pavement, but you can put an offset, so it doesn't actually matter too much as long as you put the offset correct. But I'll put it on the pavement, and we'll select a material. And these are all the objects that are inside Infoworks. You've probably seen them with the POIs, and you can put them in. If you go to, I think it's under City Furniture, there's some nice street lights. There you go. I'll put them more often than you would in the real world, just so that you can see them in here. So even though I'm in this window, this editor, I can still go in here. Okay, and I can see what the problems are, so you can see they're facing the wrong way. So we'll rotate them around the Z 180 degrees. You'll see they rotate. We can put some track offset on there, so if I zoom into one, actually I quite like where that is. Yep, I'll leave that where it is. Okay, and then you'd hit close. It's obviously done it. Now the big issue there is they're obviously even. They're not offset from each other. You want them staggered, don't you? So the way you do that is you'll notice that there is only a right group in here, and that's because this button here is copying them. If I uncopy it, I now get a left group. You can see I've lost the left hand side of the road. So all I need to do is select the roadway, duplicate it, and send it up to the left hand side. There it is. Get the curb, duplicate it, send it up to the left hand side, and get the pavement, duplicate it, and send that up to the left hand side above the curb. And then I need to add in model objects again. Notice there's one there on one side, not one on the other side. Just add it in again. City furniture, street lamp. Okay, and again we'll put them 25 meters apart, but we'll offset the spacing by 12.5. And again we'll need to rotate it 180, won't we? And there you go. So you've now got staggered street lights. I know 25 meter you wouldn't do it, you'd do it a bit more often, less frequent than that, but it gives you the idea. So that road now is set to our widths, so it should fit on our map better. We can set our street furniture better. You can put barriers on it as well. The trick with barriers, if I just go into one and have a look at one that I created earlier, so if I go to urban dual carriageway where I've put a barrier on there and edit that. There we are. There's urban dual carriageway with the lamps in the middle. The trick with the barriers, if we have a look at the barrier here, is to put this tilting on. And that means that when the road goes over a vertical curve, either way, as a crest or a sag, the barrier will tilt with it, which is brilliant. Okay, so now we can bring in our roads. I should delete that data and put in the right one, which is just buildings. Anyway, it is what it is. So let's bring in our roads. So we'll go back to our Exeter samples. We should have some ITN data. There we are. Again, I created an SDF of it. It comes as a multi-class, so you've got links and nodes, etc. Just bring the links in, drag and drop them in. You need to tell it that they're roads again, which is there. You could describe them. So if we use the descriptive term is telling us whether it's an A road, a B road, and stuff like that. Descriptive group will tell us it's a road, so there's no use to me. And again, I can put a rule style of descriptive term as well, which is quite handy. Make sure it's on the British National Grid. Make sure you drape them and clip it to the extent if it's bigger than the model. And happy with that. Close and refresh. There's our roads. Actually, it'd be interesting to see what that feature is. Let's look at its properties. Have a look at that when I finish the webinar. There's our roads, and if we want to change the styles of these roads to match our features, tell you what, let's just turn. I'll tell you what, I'll just delete the buildings for now, so you can see the roads a bit clearer. There's our road. So we want our road styles. So looking at the properties, that local street to be styled as a local street. So we have style rules for that as well. Okay. There's only some basic ones in there which don't suit me, so we can import and export our own. So in the same way that we do our buildings, we can save them all to a JSON file. I've done that for roads already, so I can go to my roads and I can import all my road styles. So if I go to demo data, Civil 3D 2015, data Infoworks, ITN rules, click open, and there we are, there's a rule. Very simple rules, very similar to what you've just seen, but I can go in and create a rule and just call this webinar, and then I can edit that rule and say I'd like to use an expression, and we can go in and say description equals, and then we can go in and get some data, so description, there we go, A road, done. And that's a rule. Really simple. We'll cancel that because I'm not going to use the webinar rule. I've already created one there, which is description, and it will give us this style. So all I need to do is run the rules, and it will go away and it will add in all the different styles. That's that style we created with the pavement, the curb, 3.65 wide, etc. So that's how you would generate the road styles that you wanted in there. Okay. Now we can spend an awful lot of time on tidying that up and putting bridges in and what have you. And again, and I showed you a lot of that in the last webinar, so I'm not going to show you that again, but I did want to show you a couple of new things. So here's my finished design. Once I've done a little bit of tarting up and I've done some proposals, so on top I've put some, I'll go to my data sources, you'll see I've put in some raster imagery as well. So this is the Ordnance Survey master map, and then I've done my design over here. And this is the next one of the new features. One thing you see, look, I've got some rock cut in here. So I've basically got cut and fill styles now. And that is a straight wall of rock. So I wanted to show you how we do that. And this is another one of the new features that I quite like. I like it a lot. And it's called a land area. So coverages we had before, and you can do some kind of basic grading in coverages. But with land areas, the idea is it gives you a nice flat spot to put a building on. Simple as that. That's all you want. You're not doing the actual design here. So I'm just going to put some cultivated grass, manicured grass, obviously not from where I am. I'll just stick it around this building here. So, and that just gives me a nice flat area, and it's done some grading on there to put this building. Now if I select it and go to the properties, we can do some grading on it as well. So we can either grade based on rules, using whichever rules we want, or we can just manually do it. And here we are. Here's a rock wall cut. Click OK. I've never done it on this one before. Click Update and see what it does. And there we are. Let's put it as a rock wall cut. Just need to lower the building. And that gives me that nice grading. I like that. So as I say, I've done a bit of work. We're about to run out of time, so I just wanted to show you one last thing. If I go to my locations, like so, what we can do is we can create a scenario of our road. It's got everything we need in it. It's got all the pipe networks. We've got a bridge structure in there. Incidentally, when we bring these bridge structures into Civil 3D, it brings them in as a solid 3D solid, which is very nice. And what we can do is we can create a scenario. So go to your presentation tools, which is here, and click Scenario Browser. Should have come up. Oh, it tells us down there. There we are. And there's a scenario I've created earlier. It's very simple to create a scenario. We can say, okay, I'll create a new scenario. I'll just call this one webinar 2. I've had to do it beforehand because I'm going to publish it to the web, and that will take 5 or 10 minutes to publish to the web. Then you select an area of interest, and you can do it by a rectangle, you can do it by a polygon, or you can just pick the whole model. I'll do it by a polygon and say I would like this to be my scenario, like so. Okay. And then I can give public access, or I can only give access to people that I want to. And the scenario that I've done before, which is this one here, I've given public access to. And all you need to do is hit that button there, and there's the web address for it. You'll also get an email from Autodesk saying, oh, you're going to see my emails now, you don't want to see that, there you go, that it's been published, and we can open this web model, and you can open it in Firefox, or you can open it, I've got Firefox running the webinar at the moment, so I'm going to open it in Microsoft one. So I can give this model to anybody via the Tinternet. Just let that build in. As I say, this is this model here. Obviously without that bit because I haven't published that bit, but all that's in there. The houses, I have just noticed that they didn't come in, the houses, and there's a reason for that, and I'll explain that to anybody who's interested. Just contact me. But the houses are obviously not in this model, so I will have to put them in the model. But look, this is Internet Explorer. It's got the pipes in there, it's got all sorts of stuff in there. And in fact, if you've got your layers, we can turn them on and off. Etc. So we can do all of that. We can also change the level of detail. We can show a Bing map of where this is in the world. Come on, Bing, you can do it. I'll zoom out and see it. There we are. There's a nice Bing map of what we're looking at, which is quite nice. And you've got this auto rotate cameras and navigate speed, so that's basically, if I go back to my model, oh, let's turn that navigation speed right down again because it goes really quick. I can then just put it on auto rotate, and you can just leave that running as a presentation when you've finished, which I think is really nice. Okay. Excuse me. So that's the web address for the model you've just seen. I'll republish it with the buildings in that I created soon, so you'll be able to see them. Take a screenshot of that now. You can either do that using your computer. There's a print screen, or in the top right you should have a little camera. You can click on the camera, and that will allow you to print that screen, and then you can copy that down. If you do want to email me, because it's a big old long address, isn't it? You could email me that. And incidentally, you can email me any questions that you might have as well. Use that email address down there, ian.robinson@greytec.co.uk, and I shall endeavour to answer them. Events page, I've not had time to update this, so I've just grayed out the ones that have already happened. Tomorrow I'll be at the Belfry in Nottingham doing the 2016 release seminar, and what I'll be showing in that will be Civil 3D updates, what's new in Civil 3D, a little bit of Infoworks as well. And then on the 7th of May we'll be in Bedfordshire doing the same. On the 27th and 28th of May in Glasgow and Edinburgh, we'll be just showing the building design and all that sort of stuff, so there'll be no infrastructure in there. So if any of our Scottish friends want to see the infrastructure side of things, then just give me a bell or give me an email and we'll come up and show you it. Okay, here's our contact details again. Take a quick screenshot. So Andrea up there, she's not with me today. She deals with all the commercial side of things. So basically, if it's out to do with money, speak to her. Whereas I do the technical presentations and the training, so anything to do with that, then speak to me. And thank you very much indeed. I shall leave on the screen now all these contact details to give you time to capture them. Thanks very much. The next webinar, the date hasn't been firmed up yet because we're very full with the diary at the moment. As soon as that's up, we'll be putting it up on our events page. I'll also be tweeting about it as well. So thank you very much. If you have any queries, just let me know. Thank you.